Hi there, and welcome to the Multiply You podcast, where we showcase top experts in their space and reveal all the secrets you need to know to multiply you.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Austin Clark here, host of the Multiply You podcast. Really excited to be able to have a guest on who I'll introduce here in just a moment, who's doing some really neat things in the pest space as it relates to franchising. And so for those of you that are a service person that's listening, or someone that is looking to grow from one location to multiple locations, I think we've got someone on today that will definitely help you with some of those thoughts, and it might even be a good conversation starter between Glenn and you. So this episode today, it's brought to you by my company, Moxie Pest Control. We're growing like many of you are. The last couple of years, we've been doing that via acquisition. And so the markets that we're really focusing on right now, they're Phoenix and Tucson, Cincinnati and Columbus, Chicago, Minnesota. And really, actually, if you take a look at our website and look at the map, we've done acquisitions in, I think, nearly every single one of those markets. But if you're looking to golf a little bit more, work a little bit less, we've really found a niche in being able to fold in to our existing company and our existing brand, smaller companies, anywhere from the $500,000 range up to the $10 million range. And so if that's something you're interested in talking about, you can reach out to me directly. You can do that on my cell, which is 480-254-9730, or you can email me directly at aclark@moxiepestcontrol.com. The other thing that I wanted to mention is the last couple of years, Michael E. Gerber, author of the E-Myth, he and we have co-authored the E-Myth vertical book for the pest control space and pest control industry. And we're launching that together Thursday evening, November 3rd in Phoenix. And so if you'd like more information on that, we're getting RSVPs back. It's going to be a small, intimate type of thing. We're hoping to have it be a really positive thing for the industry. It's shaping up to be that way already. But if you're interested in participating one way or another, please let me know. We've booked up most of our day, the day of and day after, with facility tours. And so we should have a good time that evening and the day of and day after. We've got, like I said, a really great guest on. We were connected, Glenn and I, last week, and some of the things that Glenn Workman is doing with his brand, Pestout, in franchising, I think is really, really interesting. And so glad to have you to the show. Glad to be able to talk the next 20, 25 minutes or so. Glenn, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. If I were any better, I'd be twins. Isn't that how that old joke goes?
Yep, that's the old joke.
Yep. Glenn, thank you for your time. I know it's valuable. I know it's limited. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me and my audience. So tell us a little bit about franchising. Tell us a little bit about your company and your brand, Pestout. How did it all begin, and why are you looking to more aggressively now at this point to look into the franchise type model?
Yeah, so the way I got started was it was an 800 number, and I found this 800 number they marketed it for pest control companies to be able to utilize it in their market. And it was so you basically bought the rights to purchase that, and it was a vanity number. And I thought, man, how cool. And so when I got ready to basically rebrand my company that a partner and I had started together, I looked at, what were some words and that would spell out in 7 letters what I did. And so I found, I was able, through very, very lot of diligent work, find 1-800-PESTOUT. And so we acquired that, and I thought, this is such a cool name. And then I was introduced to a really, really high-level graphic designer who also did work with identity. He did identity work and brand creation, and so we created a brand and identity around Pestout. And it was really initially was to overcome I was new in my market, and I just started in business, and nobody ever heard of me. And so I was getting in my previous company, people were like, "Oh, I'll never heard of that company." So I thought I want to use the power of marketing and branding to help sort of uh, overcome that. And so that was my main motivation to creating a very distinct, recognizable brand that people would automatically have some trust in just because of the way it looked and the way it was presented on my vehicles and on my shirts. And so, and everyone started asking me, "Oh man, this is a great, company. Are you a franchise?" And I always responded, "Not yet." So 10, 15 years later, we're now in a position where we feel like we would like to go to the next level. So it was either to expand. Uh, each individual office would be, part of the company. And I really liked the concept of franchising to be able to accomplish the growth of the company and all the things that it offered, the franchising.
So, what do you tell someone, Glenn, that might be a service person sitting in a truck or a vehicle right now, listening to this, that they're wanting to do their own thing? I think everyone thinks about it. Why do they maybe contact you and reach out to you and go the franchising route rather than go and do their own thing? What are some of the stumbling blocks that you've taken away already from them to have them hitting the ground running?
Well, if I were to do it all over again, and if I would have had started my business as a recognizable franchise and become a franchise, I probably would be about my revenue. I'm just guessing realistically would be about twice as much as it is today. 10 years later, I'd be doing twice as much business because I had to create everything. I was not a business person. I was a salesperson, and many people that are in our industry, they kind of fall into two major categories, either sales, service, or sometimes people have a little bit of both. I was strictly sales and marketing. I did not really do that much with the service part of it. I knew the concept of it and how to do it, but I didn't actually do it. So that's where I was. I didn't know that much, and so everything had to be learned. And I made so many mistakes, and I just kept paying for these mistakes over and over and over. And also just having a mentor really is what I needed back then, but I was not aware enough, conscious enough to even realize that. I was just like so focused on paying the bills, just getting my bills paid and staying above water that I couldn't think in terms of a bigger, a kind of above a viewpoint, a higher viewpoint of what I was doing. Because there have been so many things that if a mentor would have said to me, the wording of my contract, or even how I dealt with things. Sometimes I would say, I'll give you one example. In my beginning, I would say, the customer would say, "Well, we don't like it. You didn't do this. We don't like the way this was done." And I said, "Well, that's not what we agreed to." And they would just walk away ticked off about it. And now I will a lot of times just go, "Okay, what can we do to make you happy?" And even if it means maybe I lose a little bit of money here, the bigger picture is that I keep my name and my reputation intact. And I don't have to worry and all stressed out about bad reviews and people trying to sue me or anything like that. So that's just one example of that I've learned that I had a mentor or someone that could bounce things off of would have really helped. So, yeah.
So what you're providing and things that would have been helpful to you, if you could go back and do it again, if I'm hearing right, mentorship, which experience they say is the greatest teacher, and the opportunity to be able to stand on the shoulder of giants or people that have been there, done that. It just really catapults you past either competition or a learning curve, and you can get to do things faster. I heard you say that you made bunches of mistakes, and a lot of those mistakes are recorded now in manuals. So I'm guessing some sort of operations manual would come along to be able to say, hey, in this situation, this is how we handle this. In this situation, this is how we handle this. And and you've got a lot of different sorts of scenarios as it relates to probably the technical and tactical work of doing a particular job, whether it's taking care of ants or roaches or rodents or exclusion work or whatever. And probably a lot of those same manuals in the office. This is how we process payments. This is how we handle a customer or take care of a customer or client that might be not so thrilled about the work that was done or the outcome or a double bill or whatever it may be.
Right.
That's really, really great. That's fantastic. What markets are you most excited to enter? Where do you want to go first?
So in my area, it's divided by bridges. So there's like one side and then the other side of a bridge that goes across the Chesapeake Bay. I'm in what we call Hampton Roads area, which is Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Newport News, and so not too far away from Williamsburg either, Virginia.
Yeah.
But I want to go. The first market I would like to expand to, which I was going to just open up my own office over there, but now I would like to partner with a franchise and franchise really close to me on the other side of the water, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and then and then go from there. Maybe the next would be Richmond. So I'd like to stay within as close to my geographic area, or at least market to that area first. If someone is outside of that area, they're in, let's say, Arizona or Florida, then we can certainly do the same thing. But in terms of me, I just think in the beginning, since franchising is a new concept to me as well, I would like to be closer to my franchisees.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you've been running the shop for a long time now. You're looking to be able to start franchising. What are people that are interested in doing that with you, and then just in general, what are some things that they need to consider? What questions should they ask to be able to vet the person or company that they would either be going into business with? Or, I mean, what advice would you have for them?
Well, I guess part of it would be they need to have, are they ready for to be an entrepreneur? And which means that it's not, you basically are walking with not too much of a net anymore. So are you prepared to do that? So it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life. It's also been one of the most challenging things. It was not easy. I did it not because it was more of a necessity for me because I could not find a place to call home that would allow me to expand my ideas and really, I would have probably, to be honest, I would have liked to have found a company that would have just been able to utilize my creativity and my drive and allow me to be an expert in what I was good at and maybe grow through the company and leadership in terms of sales and management and marketing, which is what I'm passionate about, but I couldn't find it. So I had to basically create my own. So I would say have that conversation with someone about the reality of it, the good and the bad, the beginning part, which is going to be the biggest challenge, and then what can happen in the end when you are successful, and then the financial part. You would need to be able to acquire in some way a certain amount of capital for it to be realistic. People can start off with, like, let's say just whatever the initial franchise fee is, and maybe a truck and a few $1,000s, but that's not optimal. It can be done. I mean, I did it. That's how I started. But to have some money for marketing, But you can, sort of tailor it to what where you're at. To me, your support mechanism, whether that be a partner or something, or if your family, that can overcome a lot of things. That can overcome a lot of things right there. If you have an excellent support system, I mean, my wife and I started this, and she didn't know anything about pest control. But I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't have this business without her.
Sure.
She helped me tremendously. If nothing else, just to give me a shoulder to cry on. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Because sometimes you need it.
Because sometimes you need it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Glenn, let me ask you this. I mean, what would you say so far in your career at Pestout last decade and a half? What's been a highlight? I mean, a day you can remember, an experience that you can remember clear as day that was a real good positive thing, and then perhaps a low light. You said you made a lot of mistakes, and the thing about a guy or gal that doesn't give up is they don't give up, and so. And then until you decide to be done or quit, then you're not a quitter, or you're not done. You just keep going and keep learning. But what's also on the flip side of that positive experience, maybe one that you had where you learned a lot? What's been a big learning experience for you?
Okay, so my first one so we got learning, and then we got negative, and then maybe like the first thing you said was,
just
it was like the first
real positive
thing that happened.
Experience, real happy day, real happy experience, and then maybe something that was not so great, or a mistake that you made where you learned a lot.
Gotcha. So I think the first really positive thing that happened was when I reached $1 million in business. And
Very cool.
I say that because people told me, and eventually I did get a mentor. And I highly recommend everyone have one. I have two of them. I got a personal one and a business one. But it was people would often say to me, when you hit $1 million, things will change. It gets a little easier. And I was like, why? I mean, wouldn't just more money and more problems, whatever. But it was true. Whenever we hit $1 million, things started to stabilize. So I think that's because I witnessed it. I think it's a great thing about a system, a franchise, is that if you have a vehicle that can take you very quickly to that $1 million, you can get stable. You can then start, taking some time off. You can start having more freedom and reap the benefits of being an entrepreneur and not be a slave to your business. Because until you reach that $1 million mark, it's going to be, you got to be prepared to just do whatever you got to do. So
you're grinding.
That was a positive thing. I would say a negative thing would be when I would lose a key player. The first time I really lost what I would consider a key player, and having to deal with that, and that was really, really tough because you wrap up so much into the business of this. I realize because it takes so long to find a good person. It takes like many hires to finally find that one person and say, like, that's my person, that's my guy, that's my gal. He or she, I can trust her. She gets me. And I know that she's got the company's best interest, and she's, talented, or he's talented. But having to deal with that, and it was a lot having to do with, a personal growth at that point, and being like, trust in the universe, trust in your higher power, whatever, that it's going to be okay. And almost every single time I would get somebody else that was as good or better to fill that void. So there was a big trust factor there, but that was, I guess that's what I learned too, is to try and let go of stress when it's something you really have no control over, and go, well, it will survive. Yes, it's going to be tough, but you will be okay. And after all those bad things and all those challenges, it sort of prepares you for that too.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for sharing. As as it relates to stress, there's just no reason for it until there's reason for it. And then even when there's reason for it, sun's going to come up. It's been coming up every day for a bajillion years now. It'll probably come up tomorrow too. And so, at the end of the day, what we do is pest control. It's not a humongous sort of deal, and things that we think are big deals now in the moment, you let a week go by, month go by, quarter go by, it's not that big of a deal anymore. You'll figure it out if you keep moving forward. I can relate to the losing key employees. I've probably lost more key employees in the last decade since I've been going at this than I can count, for a variety of different reasons. And I think that was one thing way back when that, with my company, I try to say, hey, look, whether you're going to be here for a week, a year, 10 years, whatever, we want to be able to push you, develop you, have you set goals, challenge you, learn things that you didn't previously know, so that while you're here, you can provide the best experience possible, not only for yourself, but for your coworkers and our clients. And then take those skills into the next job, and to the next job, and to the next job. And so I went out years ago and got real serious about some of the procedural things and systems and processes that you talked about, to be able to make the process, Nick Saban, big thing is trust the process, but to make the process the expert rather than the person, because people come and go, and that's okay. But if you can put good people into a place and a culture and an atmosphere and a company that has excellent systems and processes, then you can deliver results that are consistent for your clients time and time and time again. And if you can do that, then your clients come to expect a certain level of service, and there you go. Glenn, this has been so good and so great to have you on. As we round this out, if there's people that are listening that want to continue the conversation, how do they find you? How do they reach out to you? Are you on LinkedIn? Point them towards the website.
I'm not really.
How do they get a?
It's funny. I'm not really on social media. I don't do social media. I've just made a personal choice to not. I'm on it, but I don't ever use it at all because I'm having trouble just managing my email. So
sure.
But they can email me at Glenn Glenn at Pestout.com. If they're in the industry and they have some questions or I can help them or whatever, I'm happy to do that.
Perfect. Well, Glenn, very good. Thank you again so much for your time, and all of those that are listening, thank you for spending 20, 30, 40 minutes out of your day to be able to patch in here with Glenn and I. And until the next time, create a great day.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Multiply You podcast. You'll see us again soon when you subscribe for future episodes.